This conference will now be recorded.
I couldn't find it earlier, but then I saw it on the wall.
Somebody is not muted and we can hear all your voice.
Eat some food. We eat some papa. Hi. Hi. Hi, Bubba. Hi.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna call this meeting to order. Can we establish roll call?
Judge Aurelio Guerra.
Here.
I don't know why I'm getting. Mayor Ambrosio Hernandez. Mayor Chris Boswell. Mayor Trey Mendez. Mayor David Suarez.
Here.
Mr. Jim Darling.
Present.
Commissioner David Garza. Commissioner David Fuentes.
Here.
Commissioner Pilar Garza. Councilman Johnny Garcia.
Here.
Mayor Rick Salinas.
Here.
Mayor Javier Villalobos. Mayor Oscar Montoya. Councilwoman Nori Garza.
Here.
Mayor George Ledesma. Mayor Maribel Guerrero. Mayor Maribel Guerrero. Commissioner Edward Gonzalez and Mayor Gilbert Gonzalez from Ravenville. Mayor Rick Guerra. Commissioner Marco Viegas. Ms. Veronica Gonzalez.
Here.
Mr. Paul Hernandez. Oh, hi. Ms. Maribel De Leon.
Maricela De Leon, here.
Excuse me, Maricela. Mr. Troy Allen.
Here.
Mr. Ronald Mills. Mr. Eleazar Garcia. Mr. Sergio Contreras. Ms. Lupita Martinez.
Here, thank you.
We have a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you. We'll move on to B. Please stand for the invocation. Commissioner Garza, can you lead us, please?
Sure. Dear Lord, bless us as we gather here today to conduct business that will affect the citizens of the Rio Grande Valley. Give us a clarity of mind to act in their best interest, not ours. We ask that you bless our speakers and that you would bless our time together today. May we grasp those things that you want us to understand, and may our actions and our attitudes please you this day. We pray these things in your almighty name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Flag. Join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May be seated.
Mr. President,
Yes.
the record reflects the presence of Mayor Javier Villalobos.
Noted.
Welcome, sir.
Welcome. Item number 2, consideration and action to approve meeting minutes. Entertain a motion to approve. Have a motion on the floor. Second. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Line item 3, public comments and or report from the legislative delegation. Okay. We go to line item number 4, and administration from the executive director. Manuel Cruz, and I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do the introduction to UTRGV new dean of schools, and I think Ms. Veronica Gonzalez, is she here?
I'm here, Judge.
There she is.
Thank you for the opportunity and good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. Today it's my pleasure to introduce you to UTRGV's new Dean of the School of Medicine, Dr. Michael Hawker. He's only been with us for about 2 months, but he's hit the ground running pretty fast. And I know he's had an opportunity to meet some of you, and he's hoping to get to know all of you in the next several months. He came to us from the Medical College of Georgia at Augusta University, where he was the Senior Associate Dean, and he oversaw 51 residency and fellowship programs. And prior to that, he spent 14 years at Duke University School of Medicine, where he started what's now considered one of the country's top emergency medicine training programs. He's also a former U.S. Navy flight surgeon, graduating from Fort Lewis College in Durango, Colorado, and he earned his medical degree from the University of Colorado School of Medicine. He's a master clinician and he's board certified in emergency medicine and completed his internship at UC Davis in Oakland, California, and his residency training at the University of Massachusetts. He and his family have a connection to the Rio Grande Valley. His mother and stepfather are longtime residents of Harlingen, and they were instrumental in persuading him to move to South Texas. So please give a warm welcome to Dr. Michael Hawker.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, Veronica, for that very kind introduction. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. I can't see everyone. So I don't want to take up a lot of your time. I know many of you have gotten the chance to meet and, you know,
Yeah, we're having trouble hearing you. It's not loud enough.
Okay, let me see if I can help with that. I'll try to speak up. I'm on a temporary computer. Mine died yesterday, so I apologize. But I just wanted to say thank you for all the support for UTRGV through the years. I know many on the call are instrumental in the development of UTRGV. I would say we're in a great place right now, and especially as an evolving medical school. And really, our vision is to transform the health of the Rio Grande Valley, and we're going to continue to do that, you know, through our primary missions, which include education. You know, we're on our way to full accreditation. We received notice earlier this summer of provisional accreditation, and within 12 to 18 months, we hope to have full accreditation, and that will allow us to do innovative programs, but also to expand our class size and be recognized as a fully accredited medical school. We just welcomed our 6th medical school class. Many of the students are from the Rio Grande Valley. When you look at our diversity compared to other medical schools, both within Texas and within the U.S., we have a very diverse and very unique class, but some of the best and brightest. For this class entering, we had almost 7,000 applications for 55 students. So these are the best and the brightest from both the Rio Grande Valley and Texas. By way of requirement from the state, 90% of our class has to be from Texas, and that is in fact the case. In addition, we're looking at expanding and growing our residency and fellowship training programs to bring more specialties to the Valley. We know that if we have students come here and our residents and fellows train here, that they're likely to stay here and make roots and you know, raise their families and be part of our communities. And I think it's also important because we need those folks to look like our community, and we're seeing that in our medical school class, but also in our residency fellowship programs. We will also, our mission of research, I think that's what sets us apart from many folks in the Valley is we are committed and dedicated to doing, research that's going to impact the Rio Grande Valley and beyond. I'm happy to say within the last couple months, we've had 2 R01 federally funded research grants awarded to cancer researchers in our area to look at advanced both pancreatic and prostate cancer. And just last week, we received notification from CPRIT that we were going to receive funding. I think this is monumental, as this is the first time that that kind of research funding has come to the Rio Grande Valley, and it's really going to help us improve both the identification, early detection, and treatment of cancers in the Valley. From a clinical care perspective, we continue to expand our programs and provide specialty level care for the citizens of the Rio Grande Valley, and we will continue to expand that as well. We continue to partner with many of the both local hospitals and regional hospitals, and we want to continue to foster those relationships as we continue to grow in all 3 of these missions. So I probably could talk all day, but I know this is you guys have a packed agenda, so I'll stop there and I'm open for questions, but I look forward to meeting each of you in my travels throughout the Valley. And if there's anything we can do from medical school, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you, sir. Any questions?
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome to the region.
Hope to see you in person at one of our meetings sometime.
I don't think you can hear. All right. So we do it in sign language. So line item 4A is ratification of executive committee action on purchase of 911 equipment upgrades for public safety answering points.
Yes, Mr. President, just a brief summary on this one. During the week of late July, early August, the COG Executive Committee convened to approve the purchase of 911 equipment and software upgrades for the 17 PSAPs or 911 work centers. What we're doing here is upgrading, purchasing and upgrading the systems, both the front room and the server room, the back room of the 17 PSAPs. As you know, we're separating from the state 911 program. We saw an opportunity to purchase these items, and we took it. This is in line with our 10-year replacement schedule of all the equipment. So this would benefit the 911 work centers tremendously. We're asking for the board's approval.
This is an action item, correct?
Yeah.
Can I entertain a motion to approve? Have a motion?
Move to approve.
No. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Yes, I have a
Aye.
question. Judge,
Aye.
I have a question for Mr. Cruz on this item.
Aye.
And all opposed, same sign. Does somebody have a question?
Yes, I do. It's Mayor.
All right.
Mr. Cruz, I realize that it is required, the new equipment for the new services, but is there anything, is there something that's being done with the old equipment, or is some of that old equipment being used at this time with this, with this new upgrade?
Yes, Mayor. To answer your question, as you may or may not know, this equipment is used 24/7, 7 days a week, 24/7. So the life of equipment has pretty much is over. So what we do is we just dispose of the equipment, the old equipment, and install the new one. We do from time to time, we do make it available to other cities or even here within the department. But we just want to make sure that everything is in line with the requirements that we have in place as far as the disposition of equipment.
One last question. So how do you make that known to cities that there's equipment available that they can use, if they can use?
Our staff provides or sends out an email or contacts them directly, and we don't identify any particular city. We just post it or send out a massive email and let them know too. But for the most part, because of the sensitivity of the equipment that we have, it's specific to a certain function. So for the most part, the majority of the time that we do transfer it to a city, they would have to incur some cost because they would have to add all the software that comes with it, Microsoft Office, things like that. And so most of the times they don't, accept it because of that.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So I had a motion, and a second, and we actually took count. So all opposed, same sign. I think it was none, so motion carried. Line item 4B, presentation and consider action on the 2020 annual audit. Ms. Melissa.
Yes, I am here. Good afternoon. I am here to present the Low Rio Grande Valley Development Council audited financial report for the year ended December 31st, 2020. If you could go to the next page, please. This is your independent auditor's report. The report is basically the opinion on your financial statements. We have audited the accompanying financial statements of the governmental activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of the Lower Rio Grande Valley Development Council as of and for the year ended December 31st, 2020, and the related notes to the financial statement, which collectively comprise the Lower Rio Grande Valley Development Council's basic financial statements. If you could please go down, the opinion. The opinion on your financial statements in all material respects is presented fairly. The respective financial position of the governmental activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of Lower Rio Grande Valley Development Council as of December 31st, 2020. Basically, what this means is that you got a clean opinion. We did all our audit procedures on the various grants and on your balance sheet. We did the single audit as well, and everything was found as it should be. Everything was provided to us, given to us on a timely manner, and we were able to do our audit testing, and our procedures and everything was well. So it was very good. The next page I just want to go over is the following one, which is page 15, which is go a little bit further down. This is your statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. Your total federal grant revenues that were received were $7,736,458. Your total state grants was $18,986,501. Your total local revenues was $1,526,016. So the total revenues you received for December 31st, 2020 was $28,248,975. You expended all the revenues, so your total expenditures were $28,248,975. So this gave you a net change in your fund balance of zero. So your fund balance stayed at $33,917. The next schedule I wanted to go over is your schedule of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance, your budget and actual for your general fund. And so this basically is showing your budget, what you budgeted and what actually happened. The second column is your final budget, and then the third column is your actual of what was what occurred during the year. So your total revenues were $26,435,640 that were budgeted. The actual received were 28,248,975. That was a variance of 1,813,335. If you could go to the next page, please. Your total budgeted expenditures were 26,435,640. Your actual expenditures were 28,248,975. The largest variance of the difference in that was in your consultant and contracted services, and that this was mainly due to the COVID-19 expenditures that you ended up having. You did have the revenue, but your budget was not amended to include those additional expenditures. The last schedule I wanted to go over is your statement of net position. Your statement of net position at December 31st, 2020, your total current assets were 9,146,732. Your total non-current assets were 17,983,414. This brings your total assets to 27,130,146. Your liabilities, your total current liabilities were 9,341,855, and your long-term debt is 1,105,590. This gave you total liabilities of 10,447,445. This brings your net position investment in your capital assets of 16,648,784 and your unrestricted net position of 33,917. Basically, this is all I had to present. There was no findings in any of your major programs that we tested, and you did receive an unmodified opinion, which is the clean opinion.
They haven't heard figures, and obviously it's summarizing. Is there any questions pertaining to that? Okay, can I entertain a motion to approve?
So move.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? I heard it come from here. Run. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Line items 4C, presentation action to accept the quarterly investment report. Ms. Balboa.
Good afternoon. The investment report was provided in your packets. If there are no questions, it does require board action.
I move for approval. Nori Garza, Mission.
Second, Johnny Garcia, City Council, Edinburgh.
I have a motion and a second. In fact, I have more motions in a second. So you got that. All right. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Sorry, my fault. And all opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Line item 4D, presentation of the state proposed opioid settlement. And this is amended.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Everhart. Amanda Sanders is the person from our office who reached out to set this meeting up. And thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with all of y'all. Tony is passing out the presentation and I won't be going through it word by word. And these materials are available on our website as well at texasattorneygeneral.gov/globalopioidsettlement.com.
Yes, sir, you may.
Yes, so my name is Stephanie Everhart. I'm an assistant attorney general at the Office of the Attorney General, and I'm in the Consumer Protection Division. I'm a licensed attorney.
May
And-
proceed.
Thank you. So starting on just page 2 of the settlement PowerPoint that we have passed out, this is just highlighting the impact of the opioid epidemic, especially in the last year. Overdose deaths were up nationally and in Texas by about 30%, which really underscores the need for bringing funds to communities as soon as possible to be able to spend those funds on opioid abatement. Page 3, back in July, Attorney General Ken Paxton announced that global opioid settlements had been reached with the 3 major distributors and Johnson & Johnson for a combined $26 billion. And the distributor's portion of that is $21 billion. Johnson & Johnson's portion is $5 billion. Page 4, under the settlements, Texas is slated to receive up to $1.5 billion, but the actual amount that Texas and cities and counties could receive depends upon the actual participation in the settlement. And right now, we've just passed the 30-day sign-on period for states, and Texas has decided to join both settlements, and we are entering a 120-day sign-on period for cities and counties to make the decision as to whether or not they'd like to join. And the joiner deadline for that is January 2nd of 2022, but we're making the rounds much sooner because we have a lot of ground to cover, and we're trying to get support and consensus for the settlements. So page 5 is just briefly the injunctive relief in the settlements. So Johnson & Johnson will be enjoined from manufacturing, selling, and promoting opioids for 10 years. And the distributors will be establishing a centralized clearinghouse to oversee shipments to pharmacies to monitor for oversupply and diversion of opioids, which we believe will alleviate some of the issues that have stemmed from that that we found in our litigation and investigations. Page 6, so essentially we're getting into how the money starts to flow into the state. So Texas receives about $1.5 billion. The distributors are paying out over 18 years, and Johnson & Johnson pays out over 9 years. And the payments are split into base and bonus payments, but essentially how this works is the more cities and counties that sign on to the deal, the payments go up. And on the back end of this, if a city or a county decides that it's going to sue in 3 or 5 years or what have you, there is a potential for suspension and offset of payments. But it's a series of carrots and sticks designed to encourage participation and by the company's global piece. If you just go to page 8 of the presentation, right now, and why we're here is we are speaking to all the cities and counties across the state. There are currently 128 litigating subdivisions, and then there's 309 non-litigating subdivisions that meet the threshold that we're talking to for joinder. But all cities and counties do have the opportunity to participate in the settlements to receive funds. So if you go to page 9, essentially the way that settlement dollars flow into the state and then out to cities and counties is through 2 mechanisms. One, what we're calling the Texas term sheet, which is an interstate allocation agreement adopted by Attorney General Paxton and the Council for the larger litigating subdivisions about 18 months ago, which sets up the structure for how this works. So there's a 15% bucket in direct payments that go to the state, 15% that go to the participating cities and counties, and then 70% of the money goes into an opioid abatement fund, which is intended to operate like a grant program where participating cities and counties can apply for funds to spend on an array of strategies. And then that is, yes. Yes, so the Texas term sheet and then Senate Bill 1827 set up the Texas Opioid Council, which is going to oversee the fund. I think the council members were just finishing the process of getting appointed, and then they're setting up rules for applying to the council in order to get funds. But actually, if you go and look at pages 11 and 12 of the slide deck, this has the payments that a participating city and county would be eligible to receive. So page 11 is hypothetical direct payments. And page 12 shows the allocation to the region. And those allocations are for the regions, for the abatement bucket. That's based on the HHSC health district regions throughout the state. And it's so essentially designed to make sure that everyone does have access to funds, that it's not gobbled up by just one part of the state. And while the rules for the council and how they're going to specifically allocate grants are not written yet, we welcome the comments and suggestions for how y'all think this would work best. And there will be a notice and comment period when those rules are promulgated, which I believe will be done by the comptroller. So there are 13 seats on the council. One is the chair, and then the other 12 are split between local and state. And the locals are being appointed by the HHSC commissioner through the region. So it won't be just in, it's supposed to be spread throughout the state. If you go to pages 13, 14, and 15, this is just an outline of the additional litigation and investigations that our office is doing in this space, because the funds that we talk about in slides 11 and 12 are just related to these two settlements with the distributors and with Johnson & Johnson. So there will be, we do expect that there will be additional funds flowing into the state and to cities and counties based on the outcomes of those investigations and litigation. I do want to point out that two of them that are in here are Purdue Pharma and Mallinckrodt, which are both opioid pharmaceutical manufacturers that are currently in bankruptcy. And we expect that when they emerge from bankruptcy, there will be funds flowing into the state from those bankruptcies. But unfortunately, it will be potentially, it will be less money than it would have been had they not filed for bankruptcy, just due to the expense of bankruptcy counsel. So, we're here to, explain the settlement. We're also available to answer any questions that you may have. But in order to join the settlement, we need three things. We need a joinder and release form for the distributor settlement, a joinder and release form for the Johnson & Johnson settlement, and then a resolution adopting the Texas term sheet that sets the interstate allocation. And we have all of these documents available on our website, which if you go to page 17, it's texasattorneygeneral.gov/opioid, global opioid settlement. And you can also reach us at opioids@oag.texas.gov should you have questions.
So I know that your efforts have been, there was a kind of a meeting for Hidalgo County and also Cameron.
Yes.
That I guess one of them took place this morning, the other one yesterday.
Yes.
So it's basically the same presentation that you.
This is a slightly condensed version of that presentation,
Right.
and it's limited on time.
And so I'm reading towards the end where it says the next step is to join the settlement subdivisions, and you alluded to the three things, right? So that would be where the cities, counties would be at to make that determination.
Yes.
Let me ask you something in general.
Yes.
3-4 years ago, I want to say it's been that long already. Groups of attorneys, came together, approached county cities about filing lawsuits and whatever. So having heard your presentation, are we expecting those same groups to kind of disencourage this type of signing on, or no, they're in it together?
So it sort of depends on which attorneys represent which litigating cities and counties, and we are reaching out to all of them. They're the outside counsel who represent Bexar County and Dallas County are the same ones who signed on to the Texas term sheet, which set up the interstate allocation. And there is a mechanism for outside counsel who represent litigating cities and counties in the state to get paid. So they will receive funding under the Texas term sheet for about, I think it is capped at about 9%, but it's not the 30 or 40% contingency fee contracts. But frankly, that's why we're out here, is we are trying to garner support. Not every city and county that is litigating is anywhere close to having a trial date. Only 2 counties have trial dates, Bexar and Dallas County, and the remainder of those cities and counties, their litigation has been stayed in multi-district litigations in Ohio and in Houston. Yes, so if a litigating county wishes to join, there is a mechanism for them to get paid through a separate fee bucket that's not part of Texas's 1.5 billion. There's about $2 billion set aside in a common benefit fee fund that they will be able to apply to cover their fees. But if they apply to that, they have to waive their contingency fee contract.
So nonetheless, so you have information to where you can be reached?
Yes, we can be reached at opioids@oag.texas.gov. It's an email address on the final page of the presentation. And then I also can be reached directly. I have my cards with me and I'm happy to pass them out. And I also have Ryan Fisher, is our Director of Government Relations, is also available to answer any questions.
Any other question before we move on? Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, so we go to 4F, presentation and discussion on redistricting. Ms. Nina Perales.
Hi, thank you very much for inviting me. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, Ms. Perales. And I know in the previous we kind of were rushed in time, and you were kind enough to kind of stay on the sidelines till today. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I very much appreciate the invitation. It's an honor to be able to talk to you today about redistricting. I have 5 to 10 minutes on your agenda, so I'm not going to go into great depth, although we do have more detailed demographic presentations that we can present if you're interested in the future. As you know, MALDEF is a nonprofit law firm that was founded to bring civil rights cases on behalf of Latinos. And voting rights has always been a really central topic that MALDEF has worked on over the years. We have litigated redistricting cases since our founding in 1968 in Texas. And we have litigated every round of redistricting that has happened in Texas since 1968. And that's important because since that time, every single round of redistricting, Texas has been found to have discriminated against Latino voters in one or more of its statewide redistricting plans. So that means in the 1970s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and 2010 cycles, Texas has been found to have discriminated against Latino voters. So it's really important that we keep an eye on statewide redistricting, as well as what may be happening for you locally in redistricting. Our cases can even go all the way to the US Supreme Court, and we make important legal gains for Latinos in voting rights through our Supreme Court litigation involving Texas. Although I'm sure we would be able to make those gains with other cases in other states if Texas would simply agree not to violate either the Voting Rights Act or the US Constitution. We'd be happy for that as well. So the US Census Bureau just released the 2020 census data that we use on August 12th. So we are still analyzing the data, but we've had a chance to observe some general things about Texas from the data that we have received from the Census Bureau. We're able to look at changes in total population in Texas, as well as changes with respect to race and ethnicity. All of these population changes have important implications for redistricting. So one thing that you should know is that population change was dramatic in Texas during this past, what we would call intercensal cycle from 2010 to 2020. And we have a new and very different picture of Texas than we had before, even a decade before. And the population changes are quite stunning, in fact. There is widespread and consistent loss of population in rural areas in Texas. And at the same time, really extraordinary population gain in Texas in large cities and suburbs. I have never seen a pattern like this, and this is my third round of redistricting with MALDEF. So this is not the Texas of the past. I know that we have sort of traditional imagery of Texas as maybe a lone cowboy in a hat on a horse riding through a rural area, small towns. Texas is changing very, very fast and becoming a much more urban and suburban state. So with respect to race and ethnicity, we also have a very dramatic story that's happening. The total population of Latinos has now converged on the total population of Anglos in our state. Latinos are now 39.3% of the state's population. Anglos are 39.7%. So what separates the Latino and Anglo population is 0.4%. And those two lines have been moving, where the Latino line has been moving up in terms of percent, and the Anglo line has been moving down. So next year, demographers predict that the Latino population will be greater than the Anglo population in Texas. So this is a significant moment for Texas demographics. The growth was quite lopsided in terms of different groups. Anglos were less than 5% of the growth in the state from 2010 to 2020, less than 5%. Latinos were 49.5%. So essentially half the growth in Texas since the last decade has been Latino. An important story with respect to Asian Americans, 15% of the state's growth has been Asian American, and African Americans were 16% of the state's growth. So if you love math and you add all of that up, that means 95% of the population growth in Texas from 2010 to 2020 was persons of color, Asian American, African American, and predominantly Latino, with Anglos, white non-Hispanics, comprising less than 5% of the overall state's growth. All of these things that I'm telling you are very, very important for redistricting. These considerations include the fact that we think that rural areas and small cities are going to end up losing political strength, political voice in the capital, as districts, because they all have to have the same number of people in them, districts are going to start migrating towards suburbs and towards large cities. The predominantly rural area of South Texas is likely to see at least an attempt to shift political seats towards the suburbs and towards the cities. You should know that in El Paso County, the growth of that county did not match the state average. In the lower Rio Grande Valley, the growth that the census captured did not keep a pace with the rest of the state. So although normally we think of the Valley and South Texas as being a population growing area, that is not what the census data is telling us. In fact, the bottom cone part of Texas is reported to have not grown as quickly as the rest of the state. So there may be redistricting implications to that. Although I have told you a very positive story about Latino growth, Latino political strength is not matching where our growth is for a couple of reasons. We're a very young population. We have a disproportionate number of people who are under the age of 18 within our population. And then we also have citizenship as a factor in who is eligible to vote. So even today, as the Latino population converges on the Anglo population, the number of registered voters who are not Hispanic is quite large, and the number of voters who are Hispanic is still not matching where we are numerically. And so, although the story is a very positive one for Latino population growth, there's a challenge embedded within that, which is to have Latino political participation be as strong as the demographic growth. In terms of considerations for local redistricting, I just want to make 3 points in closing. One, as you enter into the redistricting process for your various jurisdictions, whether those are cities, counties, or special districts, please keep in mind that community input is critical. I urge you to build in time in your redistricting schedule for public hearings. Consider making your public hearings both in person and virtual in order to capture the testimony of members of the community in whichever mode is more comfortable for them. Reach out to the groups and the individuals that you know are going to be interested in weighing in on redistricting and make sure they're aware of your public hearing dates. And prepare yourselves to accept redistricting plans that may be drawn on new technologies that people in the community have access to now, and be prepared to consider those redistricting plans that may come to you from the community. I think when you start working with the census data, a lot of people are going to be surprised that in the Valley, the census numbers may not be as high as you expected them to be. It is possible that you will know that you have areas where people are living, and yet when you look at census data, the census data does not show that many people living in those areas. It is very likely that we had a census undercount in Texas and in the Valley as a function of a lot of things. There were all kinds of problems with the pandemic affecting the census. And also the state of Texas did not put a significant amount of money into census outreach. So there wasn't a lot of help for local jurisdictions financially from the state. We want to urge you with respect to all of the redistricting to please consider us a resource. And with respect to Austin, we would really urge you to make sure that your voices are heard in Austin as we are about to enter what is likely to be a special session on redistricting. We think that it would be very important for the leadership of the Lower Valley to be there in Austin and to testify as to the needs and the importance of having political representation in the Valley. We can provide support, including analysis and talking points. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Perales. Thank you for that presentation. Perhaps you can submit websites and what have you for those members of this board that are interested in pursuing even in more detail as to the findings of the census, especially the census. Thank you. Line item 4G, presentation and consider action on partnering with Unidos contra la Diabetes or diabetes to increase diabetes awareness and prevention. Ms. Rena King.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing us this opportunity to come to you today to bring our initiative together and present what we are doing and how we are bridging the gaps for us with diabetes. So for Unidos contra la Diabetes, we are a collective impact. We are a collection of different leaders here in the community across all 4 counties of Starr, Willacy, Cameron, and Hidalgo. And we've come together to bring in a common agenda. So our mission is to reduce the number of new cases of type 2 diabetes here in the RGV, resulting in a 10% reduction in the prevalence of diabetes by 2030. And we're committed to doing this by bringing together our schools, our businesses, medical providers, community organizations, faith-based organizations, and make those small changes to lead to a greater quality of life. And next slide, please. So like we were saying just a second ago, Unidos contra la Diabetes, we are collective impact. We are community partnerships dedicated to preventing diabetes here in the Rio Grande Valley. We began in 2014 as a group of community leaders who wanted to improve the lives here. And we started looking upstream at strategic ways and sustainable changes that the group made to the mission to focus on prediabetes and the prevention of diabetes. And we'll see this here in just a few minutes. Our diabetes prevalence in the Rio Grande Valley is quite high, and it is a very concerning issue for us. So we started working together, like we said, with our hospitals and communities and clinics to help foster an understanding of what prediabetes is and what are the resources that are in our area that can help the community and our partnership as well. Next slide. We have several different partners here in the Rio Grande Valley. Of course, a lot of our clinics, we have funders, we have even HEB is some of our partners as well. And we just reach out to the community to try to bring in as much information that we have for prediabetes and diabetes prevention. Here in the Rio Grande Valley, you'll see with the next slide, it is a very high prevalence of diabetes here in the Rio Grande Valley, especially among Mexican Americans and Latinos. And in 2010, the Texas Tribune did present an article on the diabetes rate in Texas. And one of the things that we saw is the rate in Texas is supposed to quadruple by 2040. So in that same study, they looked at our 4 counties, Hidalgo, Willacy, Starr, and Cameron, and the increase from 2010, 2020 up to 2040 was very alarming for all of us. And at 26 to 27% of our population having diabetes is very, very alarming to us. And we know that the rates can be prevented. We've seen that about a third of our population has diabetes, and over 32% are at risk for having prediabetes, and all of it can be prevented. So if you go to slide 7, we compare the Texas rates to Cameron, Starr, Willacy, and Hidalgo counties, where our diabetes prevalence rate within the state is about 10%. But if you look at our 4 counties, it's between 12 all the way up to 19%. We see a higher rate of adult obesity, a higher rate of physical inactivity, food insecurity, uninsured, and unemployment. All of these are huge factors for us to look at for diabetes and diabetes prevention. And those risk factors that can cause a challenge for us, that all leads back to it, is poverty, food insecurity, high percentage of uninsured, high obesity rates, education of not knowing what is out there to help them, a lot of the social determinants of health, and we also have a 50% higher amputation rate here than we do in the rest of the state. So these are all major issues that our collective looked at to see where we could bridge those gaps and how we can work with the community to reduce the rates that we have here. So we have gone through a couple of programs and see what we can bring to the table for our community. And we want to really focus on a lot of the evidence-based programs that are out there. One of them that we had worked with is our Life is Sweet Enough campaign. It's a sugary beverage campaign, and we will be restarting this pretty soon. And the reason we started looking at this is obesity is a major factor leading to diabetes. 48.3% of adults in the Rio Grande Valley are obese, and it is a major issue for us. So reducing some of those sugary beverages in our population will help reduce some of the risk factors for prediabetes and diabetes itself. So we looked at the sugary beverages, and we found that 46% of or 46% of sugary beverages are the key driver for overconsumption of added sugar within our diets. We do have a lot of sweets, but it's mainly the beverages. So a lot of the Cokes and stuff like that that are out there have a lot of sugar in them. So that is one of the things that we are working on to see how we can bring this into our schools, into our employment, and see if we can really start making a difference and change some of the aspects and some of the behaviors that we have. So today, the big thing that we wanted to bring to you is we wanted to ask that the council does continue to give us a verbal commitment to help support the work that we're doing to bring awareness of diabetes and prediabetes, and how the communities that we serve can be helped with some of the clinics that we have, some of the educations that we have, and how we can continue to help them. So if you have any questions, I will be more than happy to answer. We do have our email at the bottom. If I did not introduce her, I do apologize. Christina Leal is also on the phone with me today. She is our collective impact coordinator to help lead the way of getting these programs and initiatives out to the public.
Okay, so Mr. Cruz, it's a considered an action item, and I know she said verbal commitment. So what is it that you're asking?
The action item that we have asked for the committee is to continue to support us, give us a verbal commitment to continue the support of the diabetes and prediabetes education and prevention, and help us move the collective in the correct way.
Are there any questions pertaining to that? We're obviously all to prevent and lower our diabetes
If I may,
population.
Mr. President, I think it's something like using our facilities, spreading the word, that kind of thing is the support that you're asking for.
Correct.
Yes. Therefore, a motion. I have a motion and a second.
Mr. Chairman, one question for the person presenting. Are you doing
Yes,
anything?
sir.
Are you doing anything directly with the school districts? In the education?
We are starting to work with the school districts. Right now we are working with IDEA. We will be going into all of the other school districts soon to start working with the sugary beverage campaign.
You might look at another opportunity there and maybe do some lesson plans that would align themselves to the TEKS and all the requirements of the state, because we're seeing a lot of the pre-diabetics in the adolescent group that has increased at a much higher percent than all of the other groups. So if there's some
Absolutely.
canned lesson plans that school districts could utilize for their kids, you might hit it where we need to hit the mark, which is in the adolescent group, which is the highest growing percentage of pre-diabetics in the state.
Absolutely, and thank you for that comment. That is definitely something that we are looking into. We are starting to put everything together with our collective, and this is great information to take back to them so they can start making those programs.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Item 4H, Executive Director report.
Thank you, Mr. President. In the interest of time, I'll be real quick. I know there's 6 items on there. I'll just touch bases on a few important topics. Number 1 is introduction of new staff members. As always, this is an important item to not only us, but to the employees. So here within the past 2 months, we've brought on 5 staff in Area Agency on Aging, Ms. Zavala, Ms. Science, and Ms. Fox. And in public safety is Ms. Gonzalez and Ms. Carr. Item number 2 is to consider action to approve resolution for advance funding agreement. This was brought to you before this board a few months ago. It's funding that's provided through TxDOT MPO to develop a mobility plan for Hidalgo County. We are going to reach out to all the cities within Hidalgo County. Obviously, there's a match associated with this grant. It's about $190,000 grant with $115,000 in match contributions. And so we're asking for your approval to go forward and sign the AFA with TxDOT. Yes, we're going to be coordinating closely with all the cities and counties and precincts to be able to identify those local funds as there'll be match tied to that.
This is David Fuentes. I'll make a motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second.
Item,
Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. And
Aye.
all opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Go ahead.
thank you. Item number 3, real quick, is Rio Grande Valley Emergency Communication District. Just wanted to invite everybody. I know we're getting ahead of the game here, but we're hoping Westlaco will approve the last resolution and we can move forward with the district designation. So that is coming up next Tuesday at 5:30. We'll be conducting the ribbon cutting and launching of the district. Everybody's welcome to attend. And item number 4, I'll refer later to Rick Carrera, the Director of Community Economic Development. He has very important information on a funding opportunity that just came available in reference to that. Number 5, GLO response to HARP. This is the board made a request for us to send a letter to GLO, and the response is, along with our letter, is attached for your review. Hopefully you had an opportunity to review it in advance. If you have any questions, I'm not sure if GLO is on the line, but that's the response to our request. Item number 6 is Open Meetings Act. As you know, the new bill is coming up, will be in effect September 1st. And so there's some important factors that come into play. And I'm sure you also, city commissions and commissioners court might have already briefed you, or various committees, but just going to highlight a few things so that we're clear with this board come next month when we meet. So under the Texas Open Meetings Act requirements commencing September 1st, obviously meetings will be allowed or to continue remotely or hybrid meetings as long as video and audio feeds of the members are available or live or broadcasted live. Meetings that extend into 3 or more counties may be held in video conferencing by video conference calls. No governmental bodies can hold an open meeting or closed meeting by video conference call. No change to the meeting posting requirements, but the information must be specified at the physical location and the agenda, and referring to the address and the GoToMeeting or video conferencing information. Members of the governing body who participate in the meeting by virtual or video conferencing calls should be considered absent for any portion of the meeting during which audio or video communication is lost or disconnected. So what this means is we have to have visibility of all the members that are online to go to meeting. The president or chairman has to be on site at the location to conduct the meeting. So for those jurisdictions that are normally without the screen or without viewing on the screen, now have to turn on the screen, especially when there's a discussion taking place. And I know, most of the time or sometimes we have technical issues with having so many with their cameras on. So that's something that we're going to have to, try to address as we move forward, see how we can best alleviate that from happening in the future. And again, two-way audio and video communication must be available, and the face of each participant while speaking shall be clearly visible and the voice audible to each participant and members of the public during open meetings. Video conferencing equipment must be of sufficient quality so that members of the public can observe the demeanor and hear the voice of the participant. So that in a nutshell, summary, that's what, it's coming next month, starting September 1st. I'll be happy to answer any questions on any of the 6 items.
Well, we're certainly gonna abide by whatever requirements.
Mr. Cruz, do we have the capability of putting the information we are seeing on our screens also besides the individuals up on the screen? Because that's part of the process, right?
Yes.
Right. So we can do that. Okay.
It's similar to, I don't know if you can see that, but that's what people that log in are able to see the actual items as we go along, and also the members.
And then, of course, like right now, I'm looking at that screen where a lot of these members are, can't see, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying that if there's action items, they need to be visible, right? In order for them to vote.
Yes, sir, at all times, especially if there's a discussion on a certain topic.
Okay, so let's see where we're at. Those individuals that I do not see right now, would I be able to see them if they tune in or
Yes.
not? Do we know what their capability is from where they're at?
Yes, other than, well, we don't know their capability if they're in, but the ones that you have caller number 5, caller number such and such, those people are actually calling. They might be, people attending, not necessarily members. But for those individuals, if it's a mayor from a city that typically calls in, he will now have to make sure that he has these capabilities at his end to be able to tune in virtually.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. Everybody that's tuning in is on that one screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then out of that, the ones that show that phone symbol,
yes,
they're not able to, we're not going to be able to see them, even if they trigger it, right?
No, because they're calling on a phone or a
Okay,
cell phone.
so can we, not right now, but can we identify those? And I'm the first one to admit, I didn't have a little camera on my computer in my office up until 6 months ago or whatever. So I'm not in any way degrading or anything of those that don't have it. But I'm just saying so that we know where we're at, we might identify those that,
I think also we can't have caller number 5 is what it says up there. It's got to have your name on there. You can't be like caller number 6 or caller whatever. You have to identify, just like Mayor Rick Salinas over there on the bottom, or James Darling. You have to have your name. You can't see a number or a symbol.
I see what you're saying.
Okay, that's another caveat.
What we'll do, I'll get staff and myself to reach out to all the board members come this month, September, to prepare for the 29th. And we'll ask to see what their capabilities are at their end and refer them to their IT, more than likely, to be able to make sure that they're ready to go by that date.
The good news is that a lot of them are able to do that. All right. So is there any other questions on this? Okay. Line item 5, department report, Mr. Rick Carrera on community and economic development. And you have something good to share with us. Oh, Mayor Darty.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the board. One action item this month, it is a consideration and action to approve the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality resolution. This is a resolution that will okay our next biennium funding, which is the next 2 years. A signed resolution from the Lower Rio Grande Valley Development Council governing body must accompany the application. So therefore, we are putting it in front of you all for approval today for that resolution, which I have. There's a copy in the packet, and I also have a copy to be signed here with me.
entertain a motion to approve.
Move approval.
Second. For solid waste. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, same sign.
Judge Guerra, this is Mayor Salinas. Prior to us going to Mr. Carreras, there was someone that had a question on the other that we hear him out. He had a question about that.
Sure.
I don't know who that was, but somebody, I heard him say that they had a question.
Whomever it was, identify yourself.
Oh, no, I had a question, but I got it answered. Thank you. Sorry.
Oh, so we're good?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, go ahead. Thank you, Mayor.
This is, for the interest time, I'll be brief, but this is just a dovetail to Mr. Cruz's report here. There have been several funding opportunities made available by the Economic Development Administration. This is through their American Rescue Plan Act. Myself and staff have been reaching out to several stakeholders and partners and potential interested parties here in the area. The big opportunity here is the Build Back America Regional Challenge, and as the name would imply, they are looking for regional applications on this. We've had some preliminary meetings already with some communities already. We are opening the door to others to show interest in this. There's a short time frame on this particular opportunity because it is due October 19th. Beyond that, there are others that are focused on job training, tourism, travel, and your standard economic and public works and assistance, which would fund construction and other items that EDA normally funds. Again, to be brief, these all the links to these NOFOs, as they call them, notices of funding opportunity, can be found on our website. And I've pulled them up on my phone, and for the lack of that, you put them up are probably not the best way to show everybody where they're at, but just for the sake of showing them where they're at, you can pull them up on the LRGVDC website under the Community Economic Development link under Economic Development. Anybody has any questions on those, by all means, feel free to reach out to myself and the Community Economic Development staff. Thank you.
On the action. Yeah, no, we took action. So line item 5B, Health and Human Services, Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. Chairman, members of the board, good afternoon. I have 3 action items. First one is consideration and action to approve cybersafety funding for fiscal year 2022 under the All Americans Act. The Advisory Council is recommending approval to fund the following organizations under the All Americans Act. That's Amigos del Valle, City of Los Fresnos, City of Riondo, City of La Jolla, Mission Housing, and Wellman Medical Foundation. In the mail out, there was a list of the funding recommendations and also the definitions for the services that we're funding.
Yeah, entertain a motion to approve. Have a motion by Ron Mills.
So move.
Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Line item 2, consideration action to add vendors or contractors to vendor pool.
Yes, the Advisory Council recommends approval of 36 vendor agreements for fiscal year 2022. The services under this packet are home modifications, medical transportation, medication assistance, and medical supplies and equipment, homemaker services, and caregiver respite care. These vendors, our case managers use them to purchase services, direct services for their clients under our case management program and the caregiver respite program.
Okay, can I entertain a motion to approve add vendors? I have a motion for.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Sign. Line item 3, consider an action to seek additional vendors for the fiscal year 2022 vendor pool.
Okay, as you know, reported in this previous, we have 36 contractors. We usually have a lot more, usually around 50 to 60 contractors, which gives us a big pool of organizations or companies that we can access to provide services to our seniors. And so because we don't have as many as we would like to have, the Advisory Council is recommending to go ahead and open the enrollment for additional contractors.
Entertain a motion to approve seeking vendors. In a second. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All same sign, motion carries. That it, Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes, thank you very much. The rest of the items are just status reports. Thank you.
C, public safety. Mr. Snyder.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the board. Just one action item for public safety, which is considered to approve the renewal of network monitoring and management services with mission critical partners. Cost for these services estimated $323,844 over 2 years, and includes 24/7 network monitoring, tier 1 incident support services, cybersecurity assessment, training, and other support.
And I entertain a motion to approve.
I move for approval, Nori
Second.
with mission.
Second, Johnny Garcia Edinburgh.
Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, same sign, motion carries. Anything
The
else?
only other- No, Mr. President, the only other items that I have are status reports, but I would encourage everyone in the interest of time to take a look at the FEMA advisory under the Homeland Security Program, which discusses the continued support for COVID-19 resources and recovery assistance.
Noted. Thank you. D, transportation, Mr. Tom Logan.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. We have 4 action items. The first one is consideration and action to authorize the executive director to negotiate and enter into a contract with Moore and Associates for the Regional Transportation Coordination Plan update. That is a program requirement by TxDOT, and it's fully funded by TxDOT also.
Have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, same sign, motion carries. 2, consider action to approve procurement for fare boxes of the Valley Metro Urban Fleet along the fare box management software, peripherals, and vault system.
Yes, this procurement will equip that entire fleet. We will also give us the capabilities of managing our fares. Right now, we're currently relying on McAllen to do that for us. And also, it will be compatible with both McAllen's and Brownsville systems. Along with that, it will give us a touchless transaction process for the riding public. So they're going to be able to pay via a cell phone and or a credit card.
I entertain a motion to approve. Have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, same sign, motion carries. Line item 3, consideration and action to approve revisions for 2 Valley Metro Transit Service Policy.
The revisions to our transit service policy is to add a route cancellation process. That's for small cancellations or prolonged cancellations. Currently, we don't have something like that in our policy, so we want to formalize it and include it in this policy change.
And I entertain a motion to approve. I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, same sign, motion carries. Line item 4, consideration action to approve procurement of revenue vehicles for Valley Metro Rural Fleet.
Yes, this expansion of fleet is being paid at 100% by TxDOT grant, and it will be used in a rural service area.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Our reports are in the package. If there's any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Line item 6, new or unfinished business. Okay.
If I may? Sure. You know, we're in difficult times during this pandemic. Cameron County, last couple of weeks ago, approved an item to allocate dollars to incentivize children that are returning to school between the ages of 12 and 18. And we took some of our ARPA funds, dedicated them to give a $50 incentive to every child that would vaccinate themselves beginning on the 10th of August through the end of September. We did this as a way to encourage kids to get vaccinated, which was the lowest percentage of our age groups in which vaccination rates needed to do some catching up. You know, so I would like to challenge my other counties to possibly do something of that sort, or some of the cities that would like to do it. The only requirement we had was that they were enrolled in a school in Cameron County to be able to receive the $50 incentive. And it has been slow in getting going, but we see definitely a trend that has helped bring folks in that normally would not have come in. The apprehension on school-age children's parents, mostly, not necessarily the students, and staffs at schools, is significantly high about potential outbreaks. So I would like to encourage other governmental entities to consider in the Valley doing some of these programs. I know that Harris County did one, and they're giving out $100. They have cars lined up. And we're doing $50 in hopes that others would come in and do a little bit more. But I think that we need to incentivize our folks to some extent, especially those that are on the fence about getting the vaccine or not, to jump to the right side of the fence, get vaccinated, and protect not only themselves, but those around them that we care about. So just a thought, put it out there, you know.
Thank you for that. Yes, we're all in those efforts of trying to achieve the objective, right?
Commissioner, this is Veronica Gonzalez. We did the same thing in UTRGV. We started a portal where students and faculty, employees, anyone go on and let us know their vaccination status. And we also have our clinics open to provide the vaccination. And if they would go on the portal, they'd get $100. And we had for the students. And we had a massive influx of all of a sudden students signing up on the portal. Everybody wants to have that extra cash, and so it does work. I mean, we shouldn't have to do that, you know, because this is something that's so wonderful for our health to be able to have access to these vaccines. But it has worked, and I think we're almost at like 80% now of vaccinations. And so I agree with you. I think it's a great, and if you can do it, that you should.
Well, we were hoping that this would occur and that the schools would jump on board and maybe put up another $50 per student, being that when you lose a student from a classroom, you lose about $35 a day of them being out. So if you quarantine a kid for 10 days, it's going to cost you $350 in education funds not coming into your district. And
Yes.
we've not had any district jump in with us, but our intent was to do 100, and we partnered with the school districts, but they have not, and they might have financial restrictions that don't allow them to, I'm not sure. But ideally though, every one of these kids that we can get vaccinated is one less potential liability for the school districts, and making sure that they're in the classroom learning versus having to be elsewhere. So,
Agreed.
so thank you for doing that, Veronica.
Thank you.
I can only give you the number of cards that we do on a daily basis that have come in. The thing is, if they go to a county clinic in our county, they can be given the $50 card right then and there after getting vaccinated. If they go to CVS, Walmart, My Pharmacy, or anywhere else,
you know, we have to Amtrak them and they have to wait about 48 hours to 72 hours before they're verified in the state system of having gotten the vaccine. So they can't get the card right away. We really started this program like last Thursday and Friday when we really got it going. So I think we've probably done, I would say close to 300 cards. Yeah. Well, the elementaries are not included. It's only the ages of 12 to 18. You know, we've determined that we had about 18,000 kids in that age group that were not vaccinated. So we were hoping that we'd get at least 50% of those coming in with the incentive. So we're looking forward to the days to come, you know.
Thank you for the information. And thank you for your efforts. So with that, I guess we're adjourned.
PO is on right now.
Good. Taps in.
I'm afraid, Mayor, just like starts up